our next speaker with us, Nayanika. So she's a senior research associate at Justice Report. She has been working with India Justice Report for past 4 years. She has done MA in Criminology and Justice from TISS Mumbai, and she is a lawyer by training. She is particularly interested in research related prison administration. So without delaying the talk, so we can just get started with it. The stage is all yours, Nayanika. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Nayanika. Thank you for being here today on a Sunday morning to listen to me talk about the justice system and all its problems. I work with the India Justice Report, and what we do is we bring together siloed systems of the justice system together, all the data from the subsections of the justice system together, and assess the capacity of the states in our country and on how they perform and rank them on their performance of delivering justice to the common citizens, which makes you and me, basically. We are in our third report at the moment. We've been analyzing and assessing states since 2018. And our recent report came out last year in April. What we do, and I've been talking about the justice system and the capacity of the justice system. I know that most of the people here work with technology, not really with the justice system. Justice system, when I talk about the justice system, most of us mostly think about the court system, maybe the police, right? But there are several other subsets of the justice system that make the total criminal justice system. We have the forensics, we have legal aid, we have lawyers, we have judges as well, and we have the prison system, right? What we do is, at the India Justice Report, what we do is we work with the latest government data and only government data. And I know that we have all been standing here and we've been here for the past 2 days talking about free and open softwares, open source softwares, right? My work is mostly from another angle. I work with government data. Which is not that open and not that free. So what we do is we bring in together the justice system data, the data that the government has published on the justice system, on how they are providing justice to the entire country, to our 1.4 billion population. We bring it all together. We rank this, we assess the states on how they have performed, and we rank them on their performance. We also track changes on how states have been either improving their performance or not improving their performance over several years. A little bit about the justice. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just share it fully. Yeah. Now, I know I've been talking about the justice system. Until and unless a person is actually stuck within the justice system, we don't really know what goes on in the justice system, right? The system tends to be a little opaque, not very eager to share data, and very complex. And that's what most of us feel. That's what we feel about the justice system, that it's complex, it's a little obscure, and we're not really interested in it until and unless we're within the system. Now, I just want to give you a little picture of what the numbers in the justice system actually look like, and while also giving you an overview of what happens when you enter the justice system. Let's say you've committed a murder, right? And the first thing that marks your entry into the justice system is when an offense is committed. So let's say you've committed you murdered someone, and you'll be arrested, obviously. There will always also simultaneously, the second step is investigation. Now, across the country, we have about just 15 lakh policemen. Now, these 15 lakh policemen cater to our 1.4 billion population. These 15 lakh policemen also cater to the 58 lakh FIRs that are registered in 1 year. Now, Now 58 lakh FIRs that are registered in a year don't really include the numbers that were filed, let's say, the previous year or will be filed in this particular year. So on a particular date, they will have about 58 lakh kind of work to do, right? That's their workload. Now, if you divide it by 15 lakh policemen that are available, it comes down to like about 6 or 7 cases per policeman. But now you have to also think about where the policeman is deputed. He might be deputed for election duty, or he might be deputed for VIP duty. So we don't really have a lot of policemen to actually sit and investigate the 58 lakh FIRs that are filed every year. To aid investigation, we also have forensic scientists, right, who make sure that forensic evidence is collected and is not contaminated and is prepared for a trial. Now, for these 58 lakh FIRs, let's say there are about 20 lakh of them are murder cases. We only have 3,500 scientists who will prepare the forensic evidence for these cases. Now, these cases then again go into the court system where you have to go through the trial system. Now, the trial system again has just 20,000 judges, right? Now, these at the moment, if you look at the data today, we have about 5.3 crore cases pending in the court system today, and for these 5.3 crore cases, we have just 20,000 judges across the country to solve as their workload. Now, mostly what happens is once you're brought to the court system, you're also sent to the jail. We have just 20% people of all these cases that are pending with the court. We see them, only 20% of them are convicted. The rest of them are still awaiting their trials to be completed or their investigations to be completed. Right. And between all of this, you need lawyers for legal representation, right? And we just have, and I'm not sure whether all of you know that there are state-provided legal counsels for you. The state will provide legal representation in case you fall under the eligible criteria, right? But unfortunately, you just have around 48,000 free legal aid lawyers for the 18 lakh people who come in and out of prisons every year. Right. Now, as I was saying, since we've been talking about building systems that are free and open source, I wanted to tell you about the kind of data that we use. At the India Justice Report, we use only official government data and the benchmarks that the states have set for themselves. Now, this data comes in various forms. We have the laws, we have the acts that provide us with benchmarks, saying how many policemen there should be, how many courtmen, how many courts there should be, how many judges there should be. We also have policy statements from the government itself that tell us, for example, what the reservation for women should be. Then we have the policy documents and reports and other data, which includes, let's say, data that has been put out on how many cases are pending in the country, how many legal aid lawyers there are, and what the prisons should look like. The last source that is available to us when there is nothing else is public data coming through RTI requests. We send about 500 to 700 RTI requests to several state agencies. States are also supposed to provide some data on capacity, let's say on how many, what the manpower is, what the budgets are like, and what the infrastructure is available to the state. However, and I know we've all been talking about free and open source data, when it comes to data, and working with the government, when working with government data, we see that it's not very free, not very open. The government is not very eager to share data. And we've seen this, there are several challenges in working with the government data. Firstly, when we work with government data, there are discrepancies in the data sets, right? There's several discrepancies. There is a reluctance to share data. There's scattered and missing data. Now, for example, several of these data sets are spread out across different sources. We have a separate source for police data, we have a separate source for prison data, we have a separate source for judiciary data. And even with these scattered data sets, these data sets come out at different times. Like, for example, it's not how do I put this? It's not consistent data. For example, right now, we are in 2024, and the latest available data for police and for prisons is as of 2022. So we're already 2 years behind, right, in our data. We don't really know what the latest data is. And if we do want to check what the latest data is, we do have some dashboards available to us. But again, that dashboard will not. The problem with those dashboards are that they don't have archival data. So we have missing data sets, we have poor standardization, and as I was saying that we've seen that there has been a reluctance to share data. Now, when we filed RTI applications to the government agencies, we've seen that either they send in a lot of information, a lot of it that is not usable, or we see that there is a complete hesitance or a complete reluctance to share data. So they will either tell you that we will not share the data, or they just don't respond. There's also a lack of verification. Now, I was saying that there is we have a dashboard by the Department of Justice that looks at what the vacancies are between in subordinate court judges, and also provides us data on whether these judges are specially abled or not. Now, the overall data in one place will tell you that there are about 352 specially abled judges across the country. But when you go into state-wise data, it will show you that the number is around 6,000. And this number in over 2 years has gone up from hundreds to like now 6,000. It was around 251 in 2022 August. And today when I check it, it's around 6,500 specially abled judges. So there is no reliability when it comes to government data. And to bring it all together, we've been working very hard to bring a little bit of transparency and accountability in the sharing of government data in itself. We've been talking to the government, not just the central government, but the state governments itself, to share more data, more reliable data, and to upload more reliable data, data that is standardized, data that is checked. Now, an example of what different data sets look like. This is, I don't know if this is clear to you, but this is the National Crime Records Bureau's table on how many cases were registered against police personnel for human rights violations. As you can see, then this is for the year 2022. What the police has reported is that in the total cases that were registered were 30. Now, when I go into the NHRC database, which is the National Human Rights Commission, it tells us there were complaints against the police were 175. If you could see the middle bar, that talks about the custodial deaths and rapes in police custody. And that's 175. And this is just an example of how government data is not very reliable and not very standardized. Now, what I wanted to ask all of you over here is, and I basically come to you with a question, right? Like, I work with government data, I work with public data, not free, not open, and you guys work with open source softwares. You build these things, and for the last 2 days, I've been here and I've been listening to all of you and all the work that you do. And also the person who went before me, Harsh, who works with government data and has been building such great systems for rural planning and transport planning and all of that. I wanted to ask a question to the audience as to how we can marry technology and public data and bring in something that maybe is local, is very localized, right? It does not even have to be national. Maybe we can look at public data and bring in systems that that look at better training for, let's say, policemen, or better training for prison officials, or even look at data, how data can be brought in to educate just the citizens on what their legal rights are. So I basically wanted to end my presentation. It's a very short presentation. I wanted to end my presentation asking you a question as to how can we bring in technology and public data together as public spirited people to bring in and to make justice system more accessible. Because the justice system tends to be very closed, and technology also sometimes tends to exclude vulnerable groups. How do we bring these two systems together to make something that makes the system more accessible to people? I will just, I can take a few questions, otherwise we can take, yeah, sure.
Hi, I'm Sankalp. I work at Schematize, like data analysis. So
Okay.
I've been looking at ways to extract legal data from, let's say, public data sets of judgments. And since you asked the question of how we can marry technology, I think one of the ways that came to mind is something as simple as using the open source frameworks, right? Like OpenAI to extract data from the pre-existing data sets that are there on like publicly available databases like e-courts, and to some extent Indian Kanun API allows you to use that.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you've explored that sort of possibility of extracting the relevant data points using not just AI but any machine learning.
Thanks for the question. Actually, we've tried scraping. I don't know if you're aware of the National Judicial Data Grid. We have the National Judicial Data Grid actually provides real-time data on how many cases are pending across the country, across all district courts, across all high courts, as well as the Supreme Court now. I'll just show you what the dashboard looks like. Yeah, what you can see on your screen right now is the number of cases pending. The blue box right at the end where it says total cases, that is the number of cases pending, total cases, civil and criminal, pending in the country as of today. Now, what we've tried to do is we've tried to scrape this data, right? We've tried to understand, and you can even select, let's say we select Bihar. It will show us how many cases are pending in Bihar, this one. This is the total number of cases pending in Bihar as of today. Now, what we've tried to do is we've tried to scrape this data, we've tried to understand what patterns could be. So that is what our hypothesis was, that we take out all the data available on this dashboard. But the problem with government data again here, and as I was saying that they're not very eager to share data, is that scraping, we've not been able to scrape this code.
So and there are certain ways to do that for e-courts judgments.
True.
I think if possible, I'll speak later about how we can collaborate on this. But
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one of the things that open source technologies is particularly useful for in terms of both the AI and machine learning stacks.
Exactly, and I think if you can build an open source software which will be able to analyze all the data. Let's say you take all the murder cases, right, and you analyze all the judgments that have come out in murder cases. You will be able to find some patterns. You will be able to find patterns in how judges come down to their judgments, right, where bail is possible. And when you are doing, when you are seeing these patterns, it becomes a little easier to make let's say an algorithm for bail. Bail, in very general terms, bail has not, we're not given bail very easily, even though bail is a right. Now being able to scrape data will be able to show us, we'll be able to gather some data on bail in itself. That has not been possible. But yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. There was another question. Yeah.
So you said sometimes they don't respond to RTI requests, and other times they give you so much data that you can't use it.
Yeah.
So the other thing you said, like sometimes there's a huge mismatch between data sets. Do you think that is also malicious and intentional so that it becomes useless?
Okay. I mean, it would be a little. I can't say about whether it's malicious or not. I do want to show you something to show. Maybe it will give you an example of. It would portray how data is being portrayed or how we use data within the justice system. This is an example that came out in the newspaper a few months ago. I don't know if you're able to see. Yeah, so here basically we are sitting here talking about free and open source data, right? And people within the prison have not been able to open an email. So I'm not sure whether I would say that it's malicious intent, but I would also suggest that maybe it is the fact that we are not really aware of how technology can be used. Even basic technology like basic digital accessibility, right? Where you can use your phone to open an email, or you can open bail orders to let a person out of jail. I don't know whether it is malicious or not. I definitely think that there is a gap in knowledge, and the gap in knowledge is what I was saying that technology can fill.
Thanks.
Thank you.